What if the Falcons' fresh start just turned into their biggest mistake? Atlanta was supposed to be entering a new era, new leadership, new energy, a coach with playoff experience stepping into a franchise desperate to end 8 straight losing seasons. The message was simple: stability is here, structure is back, the rebuild is over. But this morning, something shifted. According to multiple reports circulating around league insiders, a closed-door meeting inside the Falcons facility didn't go the way anyone expected. Team captains allegedly walked straight into Kevin Stefanski's office, not to talk about play design, not to discuss training camp, not even to break down film. They asked one question: did you sabotage your quarterback in Cleveland? That's it. No fluff, no build-up, just a direct shot at the heart of the controversy that's been quietly following Stefanski across state lines. And what happened next reportedly stunned people inside the building. There was silence, then an explanation that, according to whispers around the facility, didn't calm the room. In fact, some claim it made things worse. Word is Drake London grabbed his bag and walked out. No speech, no dramatic moment, just left. Now, let's be clear, these are reports and behind-the-scenes claims. Nothing has been officially confirmed by the organization, but the buzz is loud enough that fans are starting to ask whether this new beginning in Atlanta is already fractured before week 1. Because this isn't just about scheme anymore. It's about trust. It's about whether players believe their coach has their back, or whether they're stepping into a system where reputations can quietly unravel. The ghost of what happened in Cleveland hasn't stayed in Cleveland. It followed Stefanski to Georgia, and now it's hovering over a locker room that was supposed to be unified. And if even half of these rumors hold weight, this situation could escalate fast. But to understand why Atlanta feels tense right now, we need to rewind. Because what allegedly happened in Cleveland didn't just damage one relationship, it may have triggered a ripple effect that's still spreading. This didn't start in Atlanta. Long before the Falcons' locker room allegedly went silent, there were whispers building in Cleveland. At first, they sounded like normal rookie growing pains, a young quarterback adjusting, a coach sticking to his system, nothing unusual. But over time, the tone shifted. Rumors began circulating that Shedeur Sanders wasn't being developed the way many expected. Reports claimed his reps were inconsistent. His leash felt shorter. When mistakes happened, the reaction seemed sharper. And when he made big plays, the praise reportedly felt muted. Now, to be fair, no official investigation ever labeled anything as sabotage. But the narrative online grew louder. Fans started questioning depth chart decisions. Why was he not getting first-team momentum in certain stretches? Why did the offensive structure reportedly lean towards safer, lower-ceiling options? Then came the comparison that really fueled the fire. When Dillon Gabriel appeared to fit more comfortably into the scheme, some observers began speculating that Stefanski prioritized system loyalty over raw upside. Again, speculation. But in the modern NFL, perception spreads faster than clarification. And perception became reality in the court of public opinion. Local media coverage didn't help calm things down. Critics claimed certain outlets framed Shedeur's improvisation as undisciplined rather than creative. They questioned his readiness. They highlighted development needs. Supporters pushed back, arguing that generational talent was being boxed in to protect a coach's process. Whether those claims were fair or not, the damage was done. Because here's the thing about locker rooms: players watch everything. They see who gets grace and who doesn't. They notice tone, body language, energy in film sessions. Even silence can speak volumes. And if even a fraction of what's been rumored is true, it creates a dangerous question for Atlanta. If a quarterback with that kind of spotlight could allegedly be minimized, what does that mean for everyone else? That's where this story stops being about Cleveland because now Falcons stars are quietly asking themselves the same thing. The first real tremor in Atlanta didn't come from a press conference. It came from a negotiation table. Reports began surfacing that Drake London had abruptly stepped away from contract discussions. Not delayed, not postponed, stepped away. And while no official reason was given, insiders claimed the timing wasn't random. It came right after the Cleveland narrative reignited. Now let's be clear, no public statement from London confirms this connection. But according to league chatter, his camp has been closely watching what unfolded between Stefanski and Shedeur. They've reviewed tape, they've listened to former players speak, and they've asked a simple question behind the scenes. If a quarterback can allegedly be boxed into a system, what happens to a wide receiver when he's no longer the focal point? That fear changes everything. Because receivers live on rhythm and opportunity, targets aren't just numbers, they're value, their leverage, their career trajectory. And if there's even a hint that scheme comes before star power, that becomes a business risk. Some reports even suggest that during that closed-door captain's meeting, tension wasn't subtle. When Stefanski was pressed about Cleveland, the response reportedly didn't reassure the room, and that's when things shifted. Word is London grabbed his bag and walked out. No speech, no social media rant, just silence. And sometimes silence is louder than outrage. If true, that moment signals something deeper than frustration. It signals doubt, and doubt spreads fast in professional sports, especially in a locker room that hasn't tasted playoff success in years. Because once your franchise cornerstone hesitates, everyone else notices. And that hesitation didn't stay contained to the receiver room. It spilled onto social media, and that's where this situation escalated fast. If Drake London walking out was a quiet signal, this was loud. It started with a tap on a screen. Bijan Robinson liked a post from Deion Sanders, a post that many interpreted as a direct shot at Kevin Stefanski's handling of Shedeur in Cleveland. And in today's NFL, a like isn't just a like. It's alignment. Before the post could be unliked, screenshots were already circulating. The internet did what it always does. Fans zoomed in, analysts dissected it, and suddenly, what might have been a split-second reaction turned into a statement. Robinson later removed the interaction, but by then, it didn't matter. The receipts were everywhere. Now again, nothing official confirms that this was meant as a public endorsement of criticism. Players scroll, players react. Sometimes it means nothing. But inside a locker room, already rumored to be tense, it means something. Because when one of your young stars appears to side, even subtly, with the quarterback who allegedly felt marginalized, that creates lines in the sand. And this is where it becomes cultural. On one side, you have a coach known for structure, discipline, and system loyalty. On the other, you have the influence of Prime, a figure who represents empowerment, visibility, and letting stars shine. That contrast isn't small. It's philosophical. If even a handful of players feel like the system could override their individual value, trust erodes quickly. And trust is the only real currency inside an NFL locker room. The most dangerous part. This hasn't even reached training camp yet. Because behind the scenes, there are whispers that the conversations aren't stopping with social media likes. Veteran group chats are reportedly heating up, and some former Browns players may be quietly reaching out to Atlanta. And what they're allegedly saying could turn tension into something much bigger. What happens when former players start texting your current locker room? That's where this story takes a darker turn. According to league chatter, several veterans who previously played under Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland have privately reached out to friends inside the Falcons organization. Nothing public, no press conferences, just quiet messages. And the alleged tone. Watch your back. Now, before we go any further, these are rumors circulating among insiders and fan communities. No verified screenshots, no confirmed statements. But in today's NFL, perception spreads faster than proof. If even one Atlanta veteran receives that kind of message, it plants a seed. Because players trust players more than they trust headlines. The concern reportedly isn't about play calling. It's about hierarchy, about whether stars get full freedom or whether the system always wins. And that's especially significant for someone like Kyle Pitts. Pitts has already dealt with coaching changes and shifting offensive philosophies. He's seen momentum stall. He's heard the development talk. And now, according to speculation, he's watching closely to see whether this new regime truly prioritizes elite talent or prioritizes conformity. If you're a young star in today's league, you're not just thinking about this season. You're thinking about legacy, brand, longevity. And if whispers suggest that creativity gets clipped in favor of control, that's not a small issue. It becomes existential. The modern NFL isn't built on blind obedience anymore. It's built on collaboration. Quarterbacks shape systems. Receivers influence game plans. Running backs become faces of franchises. So when the idea of scheme over star resurfaces, it triggers resistance. And here's what makes it even more complicated. This isn't just a football narrative. It's a media narrative too. Because some believe the Cleveland situation wasn't just about coaching decisions. They believe it was about how those decisions were framed. And that might be the most dangerous layer of this entire saga. Here, where things get even more uncomfortable. Because some around the league don't believe the Cleveland situation was just about coaching decisions. They believe it was about messaging. Over the last year, certain local voices consistently framed Shedeur Sanders as needing development, discipline, or system adjustment. On the surface, that sounds normal. Every young quarterback hears that. But critics argue the tone felt different. When Shedeur extended plays, it was labeled risky. When he improvised, it was outside the structure. When he showed confidence, it was called immaturity. Meanwhile, supporters online pointed out that similar traits in other young quarterbacks were described as creativity and leadership. That perceived double standard is what sparked the backlash. Now again, no official report ever confirmed intentional bias. No formal accusation stuck, but the buzz online suggested something deeper, that parts of the media ecosystem were protecting the coaching staff's reputation while subtly shifting blame toward the player. Whether that's fair or not, players notice patterns. They watch press conferences, they read headlines, they feel the tone. And according to people who claim to have seen it firsthand, film sessions sometimes felt tense. Big plays weren't always celebrated. Mistakes weren't always contextualized. Silence reportedly followed moments that should have built confidence. If even a fraction of that is accurate, it creates psychological strain. Imagine being a rookie quarterback with the weight of legacy on your shoulders, the son of Deion Sanders, and sensing that your own system isn't fully aligned with you. That's not just pressure. That's isolation. And isolation spreads doubt. Now fast forward to Atlanta. Players there are watching all of this unfold in real time. They see interviews where Stefanski appears visibly uncomfortable when Cleveland questions resurface. They hear the online debates. They see fans choosing sides. And it raises a quiet but powerful question inside that building. If things go wrong here, who gets protected? Because in today's NFL, reputation travels faster than results. And Stefanski's reputation isn't just being questioned. It's being redefined. And once that shift happens, the consequences can move very, very fast. Just 2 seasons ago, Kevin Stefanski was viewed as one of the league's sharpest minds, a steady presence, a calculated strategist, a two-time Coach of the Year whose offense was praised for efficiency and structure. Now, that label feels fragile. In recent interviews, when questions about Cleveland resurfaced, observers noted something different. The usual calm, measured tone reportedly shifted. Answers felt longer, less direct, at times defensive. Again, interpretation varies depending on who you ask, but perception matters. And right now, perception is doing damage. In the modern NFL, coaches don't just manage playbooks, they manage optics. Social media clips travel instantly. A single awkward pause becomes a headline. A clipped answer becomes a narrative. And when your name is now tied to words like sabotage, even if unproven, that shadow follows you. What makes this situation dangerous isn't just criticism from fans. It's hesitation from players. The league has changed. Stars are empowered. Quarterbacks influence front offices. Wide receivers shape game plans. Locker rooms are more connected than ever. If trust fractures, recovery isn't simple. Because here's the truth. Scheme can win games, but belief wins seasons. If players even suspect that personal agendas outweigh team success, morale shifts quietly. You might not see it in week 1, but by week 8, it shows up in body language, in effort, in leadership dynamics. And this is where Atlanta's risk becomes real. If Drake London is hesitant, if Bijan Robinson's social signals meant more than casual scrolling, if veterans truly are exchanging warning texts, then this isn't just off-season noise. It's the early stages of erosion. The most dangerous part. This all unfolded before a single snap has been taken under Stefanski in Atlanta. Which brings us to the big question: what happens if early losses hit? Because if this team starts slow, the whispers won't stay whispers. They'll turn into something much louder. Here's the scenario nobody inside that building wants to talk about. What if the Falcons stumble out of the gate? Because tension in the offseason is manageable. It lives in rumors, in vague quotes, in social media analysis. But once the games begin, everything becomes measurable. If Atlanta opens 3-0, this entire storm quiets down overnight. But if they start 1-3, that's when doubt turns into division. Because early losses would immediately revive every Cleveland headline, every depth chart decision, every rumor about system loyalty, every allegation that generational talent was boxed in to protect a process. And when that happens, the locker room doesn't just hear outside noise, it feels internal pressure. If targets drop, if play calling gets conservative, if stars feel underutilized, the comparison to what allegedly happened with Shedeur Sanders will resurface instantly. Fans will ask if history is repeating itself. Media panels will debate whether Kevin Stefanski has truly adapted. Former players may subtly comment. Social media will amplify every sideline moment. And in today's NFL, momentum swings fast. The trade block heats up quicker than ever. Anonymous quotes start appearing. Sources inside the building begin shaping narratives. And once that cycle begins, it's almost impossible to control. Because trust, once cracked, doesn't repair quietly. It fractures publicly. Now here's the twist. If you step back from the drama, this situation isn't just about one coach or one quarterback. It's about a broader shift in power dynamics across the league. The era of silent compliance is over. Players are brands. Families have influence. Legacies matter. And if a coach is perceived, fairly or unfairly, as someone who limits star potential, that reputation spreads faster than any playbook update. So the real question isn't whether Atlanta can win games. It's whether Kevin Stefanski can win belief. Because once belief leaves the room, no scheme, no speech, and no fresh start can bring it back. And that's why this story isn't dying down. It's just getting started. And here's the reality no one can ignore. This entire situation may still be built on rumors, interpretations, and behind-the-scenes whispers. Nothing has been officially confirmed. No player has gone public. No front office executive has admitted turmoil. On the surface, Atlanta is unified. But in the NFL, surface unity doesn't always mean internal alignment. Kevin Stefanski came to Atlanta for a reset, a chance to rewrite the narrative that followed him out of Cleveland. Instead, that narrative arrived before he even unpacked his office. And now, every move he makes will be examined through that lens. If the Falcons win, this becomes motivation fuel. If they struggle, this becomes validation for critics. That's how thin the margin is. Because this isn't just about play calling anymore. It's about perception, power, and whether today's locker rooms will tolerate anything that feels like ego over empowerment. The season will reveal the truth. And when it does, there won't be anywhere left to hide.